Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over this Century Arms C308 rifle here. Now this one's got a ton of requests for reviews, and we're finally going to get around to finishing it up. We've had it in for a few months now, got hundreds of rounds through it, and what we're going to do here is do a little bit more shooting, do an accuracy test, come back in and take a look at some of the specs on the rifle, sort of what makes it a unique parts kit, of course, parts kit build, I should say. Now, what it is, just to sort of lay the baseline out there, is that it's a new old stock CETME parts kit built on a PTR receiver with a US made barrel. So PTR has got a great reputation in the industry for building these types of rifles. So I definitely think that's a good move by Century in terms of teaming up with them. We've reviewed other PTR rifles here in the past. Always had good experiences with them. So that's essentially what it is. Now let's get into that accuracy test and then get into the details. We're going to check and see what kind of accuracy we can get out of this rifle here. We have the Vortex Crossfire. I think this one's the 6x18 scope on there. We have the Arrow precision mount for those wondering. And it clears the sight really actually almost perfectly. So it's a pretty good setup for this rifle if you're looking to engage at distance. Target down range at 100 yards. And in the gun right now we have brown bearer ammo. We're really going to test one type of match ammo because I think a lot of people who are buying this gun at this price point, generally speaking, aren't going to be slinging a lot of match grade ammo downrange. So we'll see what kind of proof we get with. That truck that just drove by said, I think, Hog Slayer on the side. Awesome. Let me build up my base here a little bit. There we go. Doesn't look too bad through the optic for that kind of ammo. Next up, we'll shoot some, I believe 150 grain American Eagle stuff. So it's brass cased American Eagle, but certainly not match ammo. Hey, that brown bear shot pretty well, surprisingly well. Well, I don't know what that was. Had it quick, no bang. Didn't chamber around. Try that again. Could have been user error, you never know. You guys probably know because you saw the tape. That's what we wanted to see. All right, that was the American Eagle. Last up, we have some good stuff. The Gorilla ammunition. I believe this one here is loaded with Sierra Match King bullets. And for those of you guys that have been watching the channel for a while, you know that I've been using this stuff for a long time. It's very accurate ammunition, at least it tends to be in every rifle. So honestly, with the groups I've seen so far, well, I don't want to jinx it. I'm thinking something good's gonna happen here. Let's see. We'll go low right. Let's go check them out. So, as you guys already saw, in my opinion, those were pretty good for the ammo we were using. So, Brown bear up first. We're right at 1 3/4 inches on that one. The American Eagle, it opened up a little bit. Right at 2.5 inches. And then over here for the Gorilla ammunition, pretty much exactly what I thought would happen. It got tighter, and we're right at, I think, 1.5 inches. Hold on. Yep, 1.5 inches. But keep in mind, guys, not a bolt gun at all, so it's designed to be, you know, sort of a battle rifle platform. And that accuracy, again, with good ammo like that Gorilla stuff, certainly is not something I'm going to complain about. Starting at the end of the rifle, we see that it does have a chevron muzzle brake on there. It does a really good job at controlling the recoil. However, keep in mind you are going to get a lot of flash out of there if you are using it at night, so just something to think about there. However, you can put any sort of 5/8 by 24 millimeter threads on there, so anything that's going to go on your standard AR-10s will work just fine on there without issue. Continuing back, we have the US made barrel. This one here is made of 4140 steel, and you add that in with the US made receiver, and those are a couple of the parts that Century adds to the CETME parts kit. Now, we also have a sling attachment point up front here that is going to be generally best used when you're using a HK style mash clip, something like that, to put in there. A lot of the slings like made for your ARs and stuff like that, you're not going to be able to use them unless you use that sort of clip in there because it's a relatively small hole. Now the front sight there is a hooded front sight. Obviously CETME surplus parts kit, but it's a design that's worked well. It's pretty strong and resistant to impact for sure. The rifle uses a delayed roller lock system, and one thing I want to point out is when you pull this charging handle out here, you can see it does slightly unlock it there. If you look there at the bolt, see it does move just a touch, and to charge the rifle, you're just going to pull it back, and you can either let it go forward, or of course you can lock it back to lock the bolt hold open. One thing folks like about these G3 style rifles is that at this point, we can insert your magazine and slap it home. Not only does it look cool, but it is a quick way to get the rifle back in action. The receiver here says C308 Sporter, Century Arms, but of course is made by PTR Industries. And the trigger group here is also made by PTR Industries, and it uses the HK Navy style grip. The trigger on this one breaks right at about 8 pounds, and we'll show you that here in a second. Let me flip this rifle around for you underneath the camera. You can see we do have our left side selector switch. I'm going to put it on the fire and pull back. You can see there's a little bit of slop in here. Then you're going to hit a wall, and it breaks right around 8 pounds, not 8 inches like I just said. So to reset it, the reset is very short and tactile. There you go, that's the reset. And you can get back on it. So for a HK style trigger group, it's very good. There's others that I've used in the past that have been very sloppy, very mushy. This one is not too bad. And I think folks over there at PTR who are doing them are doing a pretty good job with it. Unloaded, the rifle comes in at just over 9 pounds and 1 ounce. The rifle comes with 2 20-round mags and a 5-round mag. Now to insert them is fairly simple here. You're just going to push it in there, lock it into place, and these are G3 mags. That's what it takes. It comes with the G3 mags. Now the good news about that is they're super cheap. Like I literally ordered 10 of these the other day for $30. So they're out there, they're plentiful, and you can get them just about anywhere. To release the mag, we have our mag release here located in a very familiar position to a lot of AR shooters out there. You just push it and it comes right out. One thing that's nice about this rifle versus some of the other G3 CETME variants out there is that it does have the optics rail welded on there. You can see the welds all the way across, and you can add whatever you want on there. It's a 1913 style rail. Use of optics is pretty simple. Just mount it up with whatever height rings you need for your scope or red dot, and you're in business. Moving back a little bit to the rear sight. One thing I'm going to point out is that just for whatever reason, I do not like this little open sight here. That's for a quick sort of close-up and personal target acquisition. For whatever reason, my eye just didn't really seem to work with it. So I used the 200 meter setting for most of the shooting that we did with iron sights. And you can just flip back and forth through these. And once you get off that quick sight, you go to the little peep sights that most of us are used to with a diopter rear hole in the rear. There's nothing too fancy going on here at the stock, but one thing I will point out is that this rifle will gladly accept the Magpul PRS stock. One thing that a lot of folks note about these rifles is when you're using optics, depending on the rings that you have to use, like we talked about earlier, if you're using some of the higher rings, you're going to have sort of a chin weld with it. But if you do drop that PRS stock in there, you do have the adjustable comb, so you can raise it up should you need to do so. Of course, with the irons, you have pretty much a perfect cheek weld the way the rifle comes as it is, and it's perfectly usable in that configuration. To disassemble the rifle, we first need to remove the buttstock, so we're just going to push these two pins out there, and you just tap them. These ones are sort of still a little bit tight in there, but they will loosen up with time, if I can pull it out under camera anyway. And once we get them out, there's actually a couple holes back here in the buttstock that you can put them in, and just set them in there so that way you don't lose them. Now we can pull our charging handle and pull our bolt carrier out by pulling back on it. It should sort of slide right out. One thing I'll point out while we have that sucker out is that these rifles, at least mine, uses the lighter Mod B style carrier. So what that's going to do is going to give you a little bit more recoil than some of the other sort of CETME G3 style rifles. It's not a huge deal, but it's just something to note for those of you guys that are sort of CETME G3 aficionados. You will note that and recognize it is sort of the lighter carrier there. But, you know, we do have the Chevron muzzle brake on there, so it's certainly not that bad as you guys have seen throughout the video. That's probably plenty of details to bore most of you out there, so we'll get on with the rest of it. You saw the accuracy. Let's talk about reliability. Now, this rifle's got just under 400 rounds through it, which is a lot of .308, at least in my opinion, because the stuff certainly isn't cheap. And we've had one malfunction. The malfunction was with an aluminum mag, for those wondering, and with brown bear ammo, so the cheap Russian stuff. But, I mean, that's a pretty common ammo. I think a lot of people are going to be putting through this rifle. Reason is the rifle's relatively low price. I think the MSRP on it is like $6.99. However, I know a few places out there have it for less than that. A couple places I know that do carry it, you guys can check out, are Atlantic Firearms and AIM Surplus. So both of those places carry it online. Great places that I do recommend pretty frequently here on the channel for sure. So that's pretty much it. That's sort of one of the biggest compelling reasons that people are looking at this, is that you're getting a semi-auto .308 rifle for under $700. That's great. I mean, there's not a lot of rifles out there that are going to compete with it that are going to give you that kind of capability for sure, particularly when paired with the cheap magazines. So if you guys have any other questions that we didn't cover here in the video, by all means, you can post below in the comment section. You can also post over at my Facebook page as always. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.